Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Taveron here with another episode of Friday Night Magic. As a bit of a side note before we get into the actual video here for Friday Night Magic, would like to mention that last week's video, the last game that we played with the Thermothane deck, was actually against fellow YouTuber Secret Nimbus. Now, at the time, I was so focused on doing commentary and playing the game that I didn't notice that it was him, but I found out later after the fact that it indeed was. That was a really good game. You ought to go check out his perspective on his channel. He also was recording the game, and that footage is up there. He does a lot of good Magic Duels content, and if you're looking for another Magic Duels YouTuber to watch, I would indeed recommend Secret Nimbus. I will leave a link in the description below. As well, you can just search for Secret Nimbus TV and that will take you right to him. But I digress. This week, we're going a bit old school, at least as far as Magic Duels is concerned, and we're going to be playing some Abzan control. No Delirium, no newer mechanics, well, mostly. We're playing a few new cards, but this deck is just designed to basically gain value and grind your opponent into the ground. Without further ado, let's look at the deck list. We are playing 2 Sylvan Advocate because we are playing all the creature lands that we can in these colors, and Sylvan Advocate is a decent roadblock in and of himself. The full 3 Blessed Alliance. The creature removal is great, as well as the life gain, and when you can have enough mana out to activate both, it's doubly good, and we have some cards in this deck that require us to pay life, so the life gain helps with that as well. Also, the full 3 Grasp of Darkness. You'll notice a trend in here. We are super heavy on removal. 2 Declaration in Stone. Especially with a lot of the Delirium decks playing Grapple with the Past and so on and so forth to recur their threats. Being able to exile things is very valuable. 1 Nissa Vastwood Seer, who is the better of the 2 Nissas, at least in this kind of deck. She lets us fix our mana a little bit, and then if we manage to flip her, she can put a threat out onto the board as well as gain us card advantage. And her ultimate pretty much wins the game if you can use it. 2 Tireless Tracker, card advantage engine, threat extraordinaire if it manages to live. 3 Murder, great utility, just destroy target creature. 2 Anguished Unmaking, this is the first of our pay life cards. And while the paying 3 life is not the greatest thing in the world, we do have life gain to kind of balance it out, and you just need this card, especially in Magic Duels, to deal with things you can't otherwise, such as Planeswalkers. 3 Read the Bones. We want to draw all the cards if we can, and again, this is a pay life card. Liliana, the Last Hope. Great board controller, can help us recur our win conditions, and her emblem wins the game, usually. 1 Gisela, the Broken Blade, that's all we can play of her. Flying, Lifelink, First Strike, those are some awesome keywords, and should we happen to have her and her counterpart Bruna on the battlefield at the end of our turn, we will get Gisela, Voice of Nightmares, who also gains the Vigilance stat, and our opponent will then be unable to cast spells with converted mana cost 3 or less. Kalitas, Traitor of Ghet. This is another one of our life gain cards, as well as generating us some zombies should we be able to kill non-token creatures the opponent controls, and we can pump him up by sacrificing said zombies. 2 Languish. In a world where mono-white humans is a thing, as well as other aggressive decks, a 4-mana sweeper is very good. 1 Gideon, ally of Zendikar, who can control the board by putting out 2/2 White Knight ally creature tokens. That's a lot of words there. Can threaten the opponent by becoming a 5/5 human soldier ally creature with indestructible that's still a planeswalker. Or we can emblem him, which we don't do very often in this deck. 2 Planar Outburst, bringing us up to a total of 4 board sweepers. This one is indiscriminate and gets everything that is not a land creature, and can also awaken to give us a threat. Ob Nixilis Reignited lets us draw cards, kill creatures, and should we ever emblem him, that ends the game rather quickly if we can manage to stay alive. Linvala the Preserver, a 5/5 flyer with 2 potential upsides. If the opponent has more life than us, we gain 5, and if they have more creatures, we get a 3/3 white angel. She's great at stabilizing the board from disadvantaged positions. Sorin Grim Nemesis is card advantage, board control, and again, I have never ultimated him and would be very reluctant to do so, especially against a deck that I feel is capable of sweeping the board, but against any other deck, that probably ends the game as well. 1 Emeria Shepherd, who also lets us recur our non-land permanents. If we happen to play a plains, they come directly into play. If it's any other land, we get them back into our hand. 1 Bruna, the Fading Light, Gisela's counterpart. She is flying and vigilance in and of herself, and there again for you to look at is Bracella, Voice of Nightmares. That's it for the non-land cards in the deck. The mana base is 4 plains, 4 swamps, 2 forest, 2 Hissing Quagmire, 2 Shambling Vent, 2 Canopy Vista, 2 Woodland Cemetery, 2 Isolated Chapel, 2 Sunpetal Grove, and 4 Evolving Wilds. Get ready for some long games. Here we go. Alrighty, would like to have a green mana for Nissa, but otherwise this hand looks okay. We've got 2 Blessed Alliances. We will keep it. I should probably qualify that get ready for long games comment. If we're winning, get ready for long games. Usually. And if the games go quickly, that's probably a bad sign for us. Well, we drew another Isolated Chapel. I think I will go ahead and get my plains out there, though that way these will come into play untapped. And as I don't have a Grasp of Darkness or some other thing that needs double black on turn 2, I don't mind not playing the Isolated Chapel. If I had a Grasp, I would probably lead off with the Isolated Chapel, hoping to draw a swamp, so that I could play a Grasp. We'll go ahead and play our Isolated Chapel now, and now our Blessed Alliance is online, albeit we can't escalate it at the moment. We don't have enough mana. And the opponent is also showing Abzan colors as of now, so we may be playing a control-ish mirror. Maybe not. Shrill Howler. Creatures with power less than it can't block, and you can transform it for 6 mana. What does it transform into, might I ask? Alright, that's scary. Luckily we do have these Blessed Alliances. Well, let's go ahead and play our Isolated Chapel. This deck is mostly black and white. The green is a splash, so we can afford to wait a while. We wouldn't want to play Nissa out vulnerable at this point. In any case, if we were under a lot more pressure, we might want to do that just to get her to be able to block. And we could have played Liliana there and plussed it on the Howler. Probably should have done that, but I got a bit distracted. I do apologize for that. We're going to go ahead and burn this Blessed Alliance right now. And we're not going to escalate it because we can't. Just have them sack that attacking creature. Lily is going to help us control these plant tokens from the opponent, if she manages to survive. They do have a Shambling Vent that they can attack with. I would like to draw an Anguished Unmaking if possible. Let's go ahead and play Lily now. Better late than never. I really should have played her last turn and just upticked her to kill that Howler there. Then she would be at 5 now. That is, if they decided... Well, they couldn't attack with the Shambling Vent, could they? They just played that. Never mind, she would be at 5 now. Well, there's a Bygone Bishop. Probably want to kill that. Although it'd be nice to hold up Murder to hit this Shambling Vent if they should decide to attack Liliana with it. This Nissa could get out of hand here. Let's go ahead and tick Lily up on the plant. And I would like it very much if our opponent did not get any clues from this Bygone Bishop, so let's go ahead and murder it. That does leave us with enough mana to cast our second Blessed Alliance should they decide to threaten Liliana with their Shambling Vent. I don't like playing the Blessed Alliances without gaining the life, though if we have to, we have to. If they attack with it, we could just let Lily go down to 3, planning on escalating it on something else in the future. Though depriving them of both a threat and a land would probably be a very good thing at this point, since they do seem to be a at least somewhat controlling deck. Though I don't know about the whole Shrill Howler business. Alright, looks like we're going to be able to get rid of that Shambles. Wouldn't mind have a creature land of my own so that I can pressure this Nissa Vastwood Seer. Or not Vastwood Seer, but Voice of Zendikar. Here comes the Shambling Vent. Almost certainly at Liliana. Well, we will ask you to sacrifice a creature, please. An attacking one. That kind of stunts their mana production. Hopefully that will be a relevant thing. This is 2 turns away from ultimating. Alright, we can finally get a forest here. Let's go ahead and start by killing this plant, as we're going to do that no matter what. We'll go ahead and play our Evolving Wilds, and then we're just going to pass and not let them know that we have green in the deck as of yet. Normally I would just go ahead and sacrifice it so that I didn't miss and forget to, but I would like to keep the knowledge that we are playing green a secret, at least for now. We're going to sack it at the end of their turn, or maybe they aren't controlling. They are playing some very aggressive creatures in this deck as well. Liliana of their own, okay. Well, we'll go ahead and sack this Evolving Wilds as soon as we're able, since they're tapped out. Alright, we'll do it now. Get our forest. Have 1 left in the deck for Nissa to fetch, should we hopefully not top deck it. Alright, Lily is going to recur something. They just milled a Kalitas, as well as a Lone Rider. I suspect they'll get the Bygone Bishop or the Shrill Howler, perhaps the Kalitas. Just depending. What did you get? The Shrill Howler, okay. Anguished Unmaking is a super good draw here. As such, I will be making sure this cannot deal damage to our Liliana. So, shrink that down. Then we will play the Vastwood Seer. And fetch our forest, which we were lucky enough not to draw. We'll transform her and make a Shia. One mistake I see a lot of Magic Duels players make is when they flip Nissa, they immediately start upticking her. It's almost always correct to make a Shia first. That way, if she gets dealt with, you at least have something on the board that she gained you. And then we will unmake Nissa and get rid of the potential for ultimating on her. We can ultimate our Liliana next turn, which should be good, I hope. Barring something from the opponent, they could have an Anguished Unmaking of their own. Although they don't have the ability to deal damage on the board at present, thanks to Lily ticking up on this Militia Captain here. Alright, Evolving Wilds for the opponent. And always watching. Well, that makes them able to deal damage if I let it through, but they will need removal for Ashaya to have that to happen. Always Watching doesn't pump tokens or give them vigilance, so we're lucky in that respect, or they could certainly deal a damage to Lily here. So they're going to shrink our Ashaya with their own Liliana. It will still hold this Militia Captain off. Tireless Tracker is an excellent draw. Let's start by blessing Nissa, though, to see what she gives us. A Sylvan Advocate. It's perfectly reasonable as well. Well, let's go ahead and emblem Lily and not just play around and get her damaged. We could be greedy and try to keep her alive while making an emblem. I don't want to take that risk. Nothing that Bruna can bring back yet. So we are just going to play our Tireless Tracker, then play a land to get a clue. I'm not going to play the Advocate right now. I suspect my opponent may be running sweepers, even though they're playing some very aggressive creatures in this deck. So I don't want to expose everything. And we're going to go ahead and draw a card on our turn. That's fine. Pumping the Tireless Tracker at the same time. If he dies and is not exiled, we can bring him back by playing Bruna. He is a human. And we will skip, attack, and get our zombies. There's the Shrill Howler that was recurred a couple of turns ago. And Gideon, so I guess I don't have to worry too much about a sweeper right now, since our opponent is flooding the board themselves. This Militia Captain could flip on us, which could be a problem. However, the zombies generated from this emblem should be enough to overcome all of this, should we not draw any removal. There's a Read the Bones. I want to start by blessing Nissa, though. It is important to note that Ashaya is legendary, so don't make the mistake of trying to make two of those. That's fine. I will take a murder, and I will most likely use that on the Militia Captain. Let's play our Shambling Vent and get a clue from Tireless Tracker. Then I think we are going to Read the Bones. And I would like to keep making land drops, so I think I'll keep the Swamp on top. We drew a Deck and Stone. That is good as well. So let's deal with the Militia Captain. And with Gideon, as he is the threat that I am most afraid of at present. And then I will attack with Ashaya. And if they want to trade this Shrill Howler for Ashaya, I am perfectly fine with that. We're going to get more zombies at the end of turn, for a total of 6. 4 from the emblem, and then the 2 that are already in play, and you can see how quickly that Liliana's emblem can get out of hand. Ob Nixilis, alright. Do you draw a card, or do you kill, say, Tireless Tracker? Probably draw here. You need something extraordinary to be able to survive against what I have in play right now. Alright, there's a Sylvan Advocate for them. It is a 5/6 thanks to 6 lands plus the Always Watching. Tireless Tracker does get the +2/+2 once you hit 6 or more lands, as well as pumping up your land creatures. Looks like they are recurring something. Bygone Bishop, gotcha. A lot of utility from Liliana. Alright. And so, we will be ticking up Nissa. Woodland Cemetery goes into play. That will trigger our Tireless Tracker here. We're also going to play another land from our hand and do the same thing. Then we're going to sacrifice some clues. That's fine. Drew Gideon, good. Sacrifice another clue. Okay. Drew Languish, that's good as well. We do have the mana to do this, so I'm going to go ahead and sack another clue. The mana I'm referring to is to sack this clue and then play Gideon. And I think we're going to emblem Gideon here. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Alright, let's just make an emblem. Give everything +1/+1. And Gideon's emblem does affect token creatures. And I don't want to offer my Tireless Tracker up for trade at the moment. I also don't want to get rid of any of my zombies, so we're going to skip attacking, at least for this turn, and get a ton more zombies. And then next turn we should be able to win the game if the opponent doesn't sweep the board. Alright, drawing with Ob Nixilis here. And a Nissa of their own. In this case, it probably is correct to tick up the Vastwood Seer when she flips, because our opponent needs something spectacular to get out of this, and an Ashaya is not going to keep them alive. Alright. I'm just not really certain about the feasibility of Shrill Howler here. It's a great card in Limited. I don't know about Constructed, though. And we should have the game, I think. If the opponent... Yep, we're going to continue and swing out. If the opponent doesn't have a Fog still in hand. Alright, shrinking my tracker. That's fine. This Marauder here is Death Touch. I don't think that matters to us at the moment, though. We are going to be thorough, especially since the opponent's gone. This is not going to be bad mannersing. We're just going to do everything we can in case they do have a Fog, which I don't think that they would, but still. Alright, another Grasp. So we can just kill this Howler if we want to. We can also play our Sylvan Advocate out, which will pump up our Shambling Vent. Alright, we'll play our land and get another clue there. We'll sacrifice it as well. Alright, another Advocate, that's fine. We'll play it, and both of these Advocates will pump our Shambling Vent, so he will be a 6/7. Well, a 7/8 counting the emblem. There it is. And let's go ahead and kill this Howler as well. And swing for a lot of damage. I'm not going to do the math. Alright. On to the next game. Alright, this isn't always a thing, but because of our opponent's avatar, I'm going to mulligan as if they are playing humans. And I think this is a fine hand versus humans, so I will keep it. We will lead off with the Evolving Wilds, I think. Doesn't matter. This Sunpetal Grove is going to come into play tapped. Either way, unless we top deck a Plains or a Forest. I could fetch a Plains, as we have two double whites in our hand, but I would like to have the mana on turn 3 for Liliana, so I'm going to go for a Swamp. And I do believe they are playing humans. Sandstone Bridge is generally a card you would see in that deck. This will make it to where we can't deck in stone on turn 2. There's a Topin Freeblade. Hopefully we can survive to get to Planar Outburst. Liliana should help with that. Blessed Alliance will help too. Well, we have to play the Sunpetal Grove here if we want to be able to play Lily next turn. Which I don't know if we do or not. That will depend on what the opponent does here. We're definitely going to take 2, and this Token Free Blade is going to become renowned. If they play a 1 toughness creature, Lily is probably the correct play. Well, that is not a 1 toughness creature. However, it may still be the right play. We can minus this. However, if they have an Always Watching or something else to pump in their hand, then Lily will get killed. Maybe right to just hold Blessed Alliance up. I think that's what I'm going to do, and then use this Evolving Wilds to get our second white source. I don't want to lose Liliana if I can help it. There we go, and now if we top deck a land, we can definitely Planar Outburst. I maybe should just deck and stone this Token Free Blade. That way I can Blessed Alliance with Escalate later. I don't want to play the Sylvan Advocate here. Yeah, I'm just going to deck and stone the Free Blade. That will minimize our damage for the moment and allow us to gain life from the Blessed Alliance a bit later, should we need to, which we probably will. Right? And they did not hit their land drop. However, they've got a Knight of White Orchid. They could just be holding back and planning to play a land after fetching with the Knight. But they aren't. Again, if they have a pump spell, a Thalia's Lieutenant, an Always Watching or whatever, then we would be in a bit of trouble. However, it wouldn't be able to kill Lily if I tick her up. Well, yeah, they would, because then the one that I put to 0 power would be at 1 power. So, what is the correct play? I think it's probably just holding Blessed Alliance and hoping to draw a 5th land. Yeah, we're going to do that. Nimbus Wings. Alright, so we would have probably been okay playing Lily here. Hindsight's always 20/20 though. Let's escalate this. We'll gain 4, they'll sack a creature. Probably sacking the Knight. Now we would feel okay about Declaration and Stoning and getting a 2-for-1 on the Militia Captain there. And they didn't play another creature. So, and we didn't top deck a 5th land. So what I think is correct here is to go ahead and Declaration this, and then play out our Advocate. We are running 26 lands in the deck, which is a necessity. I actually wouldn't mind running 27 because you want to make all your land drops with this deck. We have a very high end. In control decks in general, you want to make your land drops when you can, but this one in particular is very mana hungry. Token Free Blade, alright, they sacked one of the clues there. Hit their 4th land drop, and we have hit our 5th land drop. That is good. We don't want to play the Planar Outburst yet. However, I now feel safe in playing Lily. We're going to attack first though. As they're tapped out, I don't have any fear that our Advocate will die. Then we will play Liliana and shrink this Token Free Blade down. There we go. Gisela's coming to the party. I just so happen to have an Anguished Unmaking in hand that can deal with her just fine. And we drew more land. I'm quite happy with that. I would actually love to draw another Read the Bones at this point. We'll shrink this guy down. We'll make our Advocate big. And we're going to go ahead and unmake Gisela. Alright, it was the last game that we got to play Read the Bones, so there are 3 still left in our deck to draw. I think drawing a Read the Bones at this point would really help to put this game away. Alright, Token Freeblade number 2 for the opponent there. And a Militia Captain. Should the board get out of hand, we will be outbursting. I don't think it's to that point yet. Anguished Unmaking as spot removal helps that. Let's just continue to shrink a Token Freeblade. And then we'll attack. Another play we could have done there is, before shrinking with Lily, attack with this guy, hoping to trick our opponent into blocking with all 3 of them before damage. We could have unmade one of them, and Sylvan Advocate would have killed the other 2 while staying alive and kind of blowing them out. Getting a 3-for-1. Alright, collective effort, so that is going to kill this guy. They're probably going to escalate it, tapping this free blade. Yep, pumping their guys. So I'm going to have to unmake one of them to keep Lily from dying here. Much as I would like to hold off and just outburst the board. We're going to unmake the Militia Captain, since that is the more relevant threat. If Lily had been able to stay on the board even at 1, I would not have done that. I would have just swept the board on our next turn. That was not the case, however. There is a Hissing Quagmire. So we will play that. Then we will outburst. And they sack the clue in response there. Alright, we have this Advocate, so we are going to actually use Lily's minus ability here. And I think we want the Advocate, even though the Tireless Tracker is there also. We don't have a land in hand at present to guarantee we would be able to trigger the Tracker, and Sylvan Advocate plus the Hissing Quagmire here is a great combination. Alright, no play from the opponent. No play from the opponent. That is unusual, to say the least. Well, we are going to tick up Lily on nothing. And then we are going to Read the Bones. Good draw on the Read the Bones there. And I want both of these. Confirm. Alright, we will play the Shambles. And we will also play out our Advocate. Ah, flashing an Abzan. Okay, so we're probably going to lose Liliana here. I think that is okay at present. We have Emeria Shepherd we could play out to deal with her, although she can't profitably block the Advocate or any of our land creatures as long as Advocate is on board. There's a Consul's Lieutenant. And an Anointer of Champions. So drawing another sweeper would not be remiss at this point either. There's a Grasp of Darkness, so that deals with Archangel Abzan adequately at this point. However, I think what we want to do, first of all, is activate our Shambling Vent. Yes, that's fine. Then we're going to swing with both of these. And if they try to gang block either one, we've got Grasp to break up that whole ordeal. Shambles will also gain us some life, which we need at present, being at 9, which is kind of precarious. Again, a land next turn would be a fine draw too, with the Emeria Shepherd. Would let us play Emeria Shepherd and then recur something from our graveyard. Alright, Enshrouding Mist. Well, we want to respond to that with a Grasp of Darkness and get rid of Archangel Avacyn. Good deal. Alright, our Advocate's going bye-bye. We do have the mana up to go ahead and sack this clue though, so let's do that. Going to be taking 3 here. And the Lieutenant will become Renown. Unfortunately, this isolated chapel doesn't count as a plane, so Emeria Shepherd will not be able to bring a creature directly back into play from it. However, we drew Sylvan Advocate, so we want to make sure not to tap down a green source when we play our Emeria Shepherd here. So it looks like Hissing Quagmire is going to stay untapped. I'm fine with that. Let's play our Shepherd, and then play a land to trigger her, and we can get back either. I think we want Lily. Confirm. Yes, I do want to use this ability. I also want to play out my Advocate. Alright, land drop from the opponent. That's not what they want to be drawing right now. They want to be drawing gas. They say that's enough. We'll stay in the game, though it does seem like it's going to be over fairly quickly. Okay, continue. Well, Evolving Wilds is super good here. So what we are going to do is play that. And yeah, we will do that. Yes, and we could fetch to get a Plains, but there's nothing left to recur. We're going to play Tireless Tracker though, so that he gets a clue from this Evolving Wilds when we crack it. We are also going to play Liliana out and kill this Anointer. Then we will see what we will see and swing with these. I think we probably could have killed the opponent this turn if I had just played a Lily, killed that, and then activated a land. But that's okay. We've got a buffer as is. Sure. I'll take both those. That's fine. Alright, let's swing out, shall we? And I will see you guys in the next game. Yeah, we can't keep this. This, however, is better. Yeah, I think this is just fine. We'll lead off with the Canopy Vista. Since it is a forest and a plains, we will be able to play our isolated chapel untapped. Wandering Fumarole, alrighty then. Would like to have drawn something a little lower on the curve that turn, but that's fine. We'll want Emeria Shepherd eventually, should we manage to stay alive that long. and Storm Chaser. We may be up against a Prowess type deck here. Murder is quite good against the Storm Chaser. We'll wait and see if we can get multiple cards from it. If they should try to play a Titan Strength or something on this, we'll kill it in response. That will make it fizzle so they don't get this scry. If their threat wasn't on board, I would go ahead and read the bones. Alrighty, making their land drops on time, that's good. See if they play anything. Looks like not, so I'm going to go ahead and murder this guy. Just get him off the board. And playing Jesse and Thief, so it is a straight up Prowess deck then. I think we want to just murder this Thief as well. We don't want them to draw cards if we can help it. If it deals damage to us, they will draw a card. Again, I'm going to try to get a 2-for-1. These Prowess decks generally don't play counter spells, so I think it's worth the risk. However, if we do get this countered, that will be quite a beating. Rogue's Passage, alrighty. And Thing in the Ice pre-combat, so that limits their ability to do things. We'll see, go to the declare blockers and see if they have any tricks. They don't, so we'll murder this girl here. They may have something. Nope. Alright. So the question is here, do we want to read the bones or Gideon? We do want an answer to this Thing in the Ice eventually. I think Gideon is probably a good play at this point. We'll play our Woodland Cemetery. Then we'll play Gideon and make a dude. There we go. That will protect Gideon from the Fumarole should they play another land. Well, not any longer since it's dying. So an untapped land here will allow them to kill Gideon with the Wandering Fumarole. And there it is. Let's see if they choose to do that. Looks like it. Switching the power and toughness, if it will work for them. Sometimes it doesn't. At least for me, it has been that way sometimes, but it seems to be working fine for them here. Alright, so we are on Read the Bones now. As such, we want to fetch first, I think. We have 2 green, so we don't need that. I think we want another black. Then we will Read the Bones, and we want to leave 2 black up, if possible. Yep, like that. That way if we get Grasp, we can use it. We got Declaration in stone. We still have a land in hand, so I think we only want the deck and stone on top. Blessed Alliance is quite good here. I think I'm going to go ahead and Declaration this Thing in the Ice. Yeah. Just get it out of the picture. So we'll probably be taking 4 damage here. However, when we can untap and hold up mana, Blessed Alliance will deal with the Fumarole, hopefully, plus gain us the 4 life back. Well, there's a Storm Chaser Mage, so nix on that, I suppose. We could play the Emeria Shepherd, however, I don't really want to play it naked and not get a recursion out of it. so we need to draw another land for that. That might have been an argument for leaving the plains on top as well when we scryed with Read the Bones. At least we took 1 instead of 4 from the fumarole there. Sylvan Advocate is nice here. So we want to play our Advocate. Then we could also activate an attack with Shambling Vent, which would leave us unable to cast Blessed Alliance. But the 4 life we gain from this, I think that is fine. I think that's a good play. So we'll go ahead and do that. And because of Advocate, it is also a 4/5. So we'll deal 4 and gain 4. Alright, sacking the clue in response. And here it comes. So we'll switch life totals. They'll go to 16 and we'll go to 20. Feels like an okay position to be in here. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves. The game could slip away. Would love to draw a land next turn to play with our Emeria Shepherd. If it was a plains, that would be even better. Chandra, okay. Well, Chandra cannot kill our Advocate, at present at least. She doesn't have enough loyalty to sweep him away. She will if she remains on board, though. So we will block one of these 3/1s. And take 5 down to 15. Alright, ending their turn, so that's good for us. We want to kill Chandra this turn, even if we draw a land. And we did. We're going to hold on to that for our Shepherd. I think it's more important at present to activate our Shambles and kill Chandra. So that she can't sweep away our Advocate or continue to make 3/1s to threaten us with. Also at a comfortable life total from the Shambling Vent here, continuing to gain us precious life points. Exquisite Firecraft. Alright, they must have something else in addition to that. Twin Bolt. Alright. Good deal. So we're going to Blessed Alliance and get rid of this when it attacks. And sacrifice an attacking creature, please. And then next turn is going to be a very good turn for us. Oh, we just straight up drew a plains. We'll play our Emeria Shepherd out. I think I'm going to go with the Evolving Wilds and get 2 triggers. And we will return Advocate to our hand. Yes. And return Gideon to the battlefield. Plains, please. Confirm. Yes. And make me a token, please. Thermal Alchemist, alrighty then. Deck is reminiscent of the deck that we had on Friday Night Magic last week. Good draw. Well, we'll play our plains. We don't really have anything to recur with Emeria Shepherd. However, I want the land in play. We'll play our Advocate to pump our Shambles. We will activate Shambles. We will also make Gideon a 5/5. And we will swing with everything. We have Blessed Alliance to make them sack a creature should they attack us next turn, plus Sylvan Advocate on defense. Alright, decides to block the Knight ally and take 13. And we will pass. We actually could use the untap 2 target creatures on this to possibly greater effect, just depending. However, the Fumarole is the only thing that can attack us right now, as Thermal Alchemist is a defender. They drew a land, so that's not good for them. I think we've got this game. Alrighty. They think we've got the game as well. I don't see how they can possibly get out of this with what they have on board. No cards in hand. Alright, we will get this over with as quickly as possible. Let's just go ahead and activate our things here. Take a damage from the Alchemist. And Gideon as well. And swing. And on to the next game. Alright, it's a little bit land heavy, but the 2 non-lands will give us some survivability. Hopefully we will draw some more controlling cards along the way. I will keep this, and we'll lead off with the Quagmire. Alright, looks like we are up against vampires here. Let's play this Plains. We just got really lucky and drew. Nice, because these 2 would have come into play tapped. Now we have Blessed Alliance online. Should we want to cast it? We may. This 1/1 guy isn't a huge threat, though. However, the Plains will also let our duels come into play tapped, so that's good. Era of Falcon Wraith. Alright, I think I'll just take this. Would really like to gain the 4 life from the Blessed Alliance. We may unmake this girl if we don't draw a better solution. Tireless Tracker is good. I don't want to play it naked, however. Would like to get at least 1 clue out of it. I think I'm going to go ahead and unmake this air so that they don't have the discard outlet on the board to madness something out. So let's do that. Next turn is probably going to be Tireless Tracker plus land. Olivia, okay. Taking 1 here. Olivia is quite a powerful threat. We didn't happen to draw targeted removal, so let's Tireless Tracker. And we'll play a forest. That way our Vista can also come into play untapped. Hopefully we don't just get aggroed out here. We are feeling in not so good shape at the moment. A sweeper would probably equalize this a bit. Well, there's Ravenous Bloodseeker, who will maybe get Olivia's ability applied to him. Looks like yes. Fiery Temper is probably going to kill our tracker. And then we'll take a bunch of damage. Yep. So 3, 4, 5, 6 for sure. They could activate the Seeker's ability to increase that by 3. Or by 2, rather. Looks like they don't want to. So we're at 9. Alright, Isolated Chapel. I can't really afford to be cracking this clue right now. Let's play our Canopy Vista out and pass. We're going to be Blessed Alliancing with the Escalate this time to remove one of these creatures, probably the 1/1, even though it can pump the rest of the team. Plus gain ourselves 4 life and try to keep alive, at least for the moment. Call the Bloodline for the opponent there. Alright, let's do this. Sack and gain. Gain and sack. That's fine. So we'll be, if they sack this, we'll only be taking 1 nat damage. That is if they also don't activate the Bloodseeker's pump ability. Alright, they do sack the 1/1. And it looks like we're just taking 5 here. So down to 8. We need something though. That's not it. Let's sack this. Deck and Stone. I suppose that will do the trick for the moment. Play our Woodland Cemetery and Declaration Olivia, as we have the Quagmire to block this ground pounder in future. Incorrigible Youths would be really bad here. They could pump this, play the Youths, and swing at us for 8, which would be dead. It looks like they don't have that though. So that's good for us. Alright, they are pumping it though, probably with a Madness card. Asylum Visitor, okay. So we'll be taking 4, down to 4, and they will be getting a 3/1 creature that can potentially draw them cards in future. Alright, if we don't draw something good here, we're probably just dead. That's not good. Alright, pass the turn. We can block this here. If there's nothing else forthcoming, we will be taking 3, but if they make a creature with the... or they're not, they're drawing a card. If they had made a creature with the Call the Bloodline, there would be nothing that we could do to survive. We still may be dead, just depending on what they're holding in hand. Alright, let's activate Quagmire. Call the Bloodline for a Fiery Temper, perhaps? Getting a creature? Yep, so we are dead. Yep. Well, sometimes that's what happens. You just draw all the land. I would still rather get flooded than not be able to play Magic. Perhaps we will do a bit better in the next game. Good game, opponent. Alright, this is interesting. I do think I keep it though. We got Kalitas and Grasp. Yeah, we'll keep this. We do lead off with the Shambles, I think. Evolving Wilds will allow us to thin our deck a little bit, though we still do want to draw lands. Emeria Shepherd does cost 7 after all. Alright, well, Quagmire it is. Gives us all of our colors. Alright, Calistria Healer. Leads me to believe that they are on Allies, or a black-white auras/enchantment deck. Well, we want to just go ahead and kill this dude, I think. And we will fetch for a swamp. Next turn, we potentially have Kalitas or Read the Bones. Alright, drawn as Emissary. I think I want to read the bones here to try to get a sweeper. So let's do that. Yeah, I don't... Oh, sorry. I don't want these. Finish. Alright then. Well, that's a lot of land. If we can survive, then Emeria Shepherd may be excellent this game. Don't yet have anything to recur with her, though Kalitas could be in that graveyard by the time we can cast her. Alright, activating vents. We're going to be taking 4 here. They're going to be gaining 2. Still, a Languish or Outburst off the top would be nice to draw. However, spot removal would probably be better. I will take the Ob Nixilis, I guess. So we will fetch another swamp and play out our Kalitas to potentially hold this shambles at bay or draw a removal spell. If it's not an exiling removal spell, then we can get it back with Emeria Shepherd eventually. It is exiling though, so that's it for that. Undo War Cleric, alrighty then. However, it did prevent us from taking 2 damage this turn. So, we could potentially be taking 6. However, they will probably go after Ob Nixilis. We could also just activate Shambling Vent and swing. We could sack the clue. I actually think it's better to just play Ob and then kill this drawn as emissary. That also gives us a Planeswalker that will be able to be gotten with Emeria Shepherd. Again, should we live that long. Very much expect them to go after Ob Nixilis, at least with one of these creatures. And they do, so we'll be taking 2 down to 7. Isolated Chapel's not exactly what I wanted to draw. We're going to start by sacrificing this clue. Okay. Well, we only have 1 permanent in the yard. So, we will sack this Evolving Wilds. That will leave us up enough mana to activate either the Quagmires or the Shambling Vents. Shambling Vent, rather. If they swing with this, we may activate a Quagmire, though I kind of doubt it. I want to be able to cast my Emeria Shepherd and get her trigger on the next turn, which may also be an indication that I shouldn't even activate and block with the Shambling Vent to gain 2 life. Certainly if they just attack with the Cleric, I'm not going to, because that indicates to me that they have removal of some sort. Otherwise, they wouldn't be attacking into the Vent, which I don't have a white open to activate it anyway. I hadn't realized I've been holding these in hand so that I can get the activation from Emeria Shepherd. Nissa is good too. And we don't have a second white out for the Emeria Shepherd at this point, so I've just misplayed all the way around. Well, let's do this then. We'll do that. And fetch a forest. However, we're going to play our Isolated Chapel and trigger Nissa. She may get killed in response to her flip trigger. And she does. Alright, but now we have the mana to activate Shambling Vent. So, let's see what happens. Again though, if they just attack with this, I'm probably not going to do it. Alright, they are just attacking with that. That leaves the mana to kill my Vents. So I will be taking this down to a very precarious 3 because I didn't have the foresight to put out a second white mana to cast my Emeria Shepherd. Colostria Healer is going to take us to 2. And we could potentially be dead even with the Emeria Shepherd now. Declaration in Stone certainly helps. Let's go ahead and cast this. And then play our planes and get back Ob Nixilis. Yes, I absolutely do. We will destroy the healer. And deck and stone the War Cleric. If they have removal for her, then we're just dead anyway from the Shambling Vent. Doesn't look like they do right off the bat. However, they could grasp her if they have another black to play and still activate Shambling Vent. They don't have another black. They do have Sorin though, so we could die to Sorin. 2 converted mana cost or more kills us. Ooh, lucky lucky. That was an amazing draw. Let's play that. Then we will, even though we don't have anything, we'll play the forest, so we don't need to bring anything back. We will activate our Shambling Vents. Do we activate this Quagmire also? We probably want to leave it to block just in case. Continue. We have to kill Sorin here, so we will do that. Gaining us 4 life. And now we feel a little bit safer, so now we can probably just draw with Ob. Going down to 5. Murder is a great draw as well. And we are, however precariously, now back in this game. Despite horrible oversights on my part. Deck and Stone, probably targeting the Shepherd. No, targeting the Advocate. That's fine too. I understand why. Oh wait, thought that was end of turn for a second. We do want to sacrifice this clue. Blessed Alliance, good. Alrighty. Well, let's draw a card with Ob Nixilis. Was a plains. Arguments to be made for murdering my own Advocate there so that it wouldn't be exiled. However, we have these alliances to gain life now. Let's go ahead and play a plains. Nothing to trigger. And we will activate our Shambling Vent. Now we do have the murder to kill this, should they activate it to block. Okay, we will need to pause before Archangel Avacyn's indestructible trigger goes off and murder her. So now I am very glad I had the murder still in hand. And pass. We still have mana up to activate one of the Quagmires. Suppression Bonds. On Ob, okay. And there's Druna's Emissary. Anguished Unmaking is all right here. Let's activate our Shambling Vent. And attack. So we'll gain 2 here, and then the Emissary will trigger, and we'll lose a life, and they'll gain a life on our opponent's upkeep. Alright, here comes the Emissary most likely. Yep. So we will Blessed Alliance, escalating. We want the life, we want them to sack the creature. We will continue playing. The game is probably handily in our favor now. However, you never know. Especially since we are at least 2 turns from killing our opponent here. Right, we will play the Shambling Vent and activate our other Shambling Vent. And actually we're going to activate a Quagmire as well. And attack. Try to get this to a 2-turn clock if we can. And pass to the opponent. Alright, looks like nothing from them. Alright. So that should be game, barring unforeseen things happening. Let's activate our Shambles. Activate our Shambles. Activate our Quagmire. And attack. Alright. Well, despite horrible misplays, we finally got through that last game. Well, that will be it for this episode of Friday Night Magic, friends. I do hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please leave a like below. It helps tremendously. Consider subscribing to the channel if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future. And until next time, friends, be excellent to each other.